What's going on, YouTube? This is 903 Fishing. Guys, guess what? It's about that time for the white bass run of 2022. It's going to be an awesome time. In this video today, I'm going to show you tips where to find white bass and tips on how to catch these white bass and what baits work the best. If you have ever white bass fished, you know that it can be a very, very good time. That thump that these white bass put in, or sand bass as we like to call them in Texas, the thump is just something different from any other species. Pound for pound, white bass may be the strongest species of fish out there. However, you got to know where to find them. There's going to be plenty of white bass fishing videos coming to the channel soon. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and hit it. Come join the 903 Fishing family. I would greatly appreciate it. If you're already subscribed to the channel, thank you so much. I say it every time, but y'all know I would not be doing this without you guys. I hope y'all learned something from this video. Let's go ahead and get into the baits that I use to catch white bass. Let's get into the best baits for white bass fishing. Now, I'm not saying that you won't see me throw a different bait this season. However, the 3-inch grub from Yum right here, guys. This bait right here is going to be an automatic, all right? 3 inches long, perfect size. The action on these is just incredible, all right? I usually pair these with a pink jig head, 1/8 ounce. And then also, a lot of people tell me that these are too big, which y'all have heard me say this in the past. White Ice Fluke Juniors from Zoom, all right? White Ice Fluke Juniors from Zoom. Guys, the paddle tail action on it is just insane. Now guys, I will give you a helpful tip right here. Both of these baits with the types of tails they have, okay? You got the White Ice Fluke Junior and you also have this 3-inch grub, all right? This right here is the 3-inch grub, all right? With the pink 1/8 ounce jig head. Then also this is the White Ice Fluke Junior. Now, of course, this bait is about twice as small as this bait, but I got news for y'all. They both will catch fish for you, okay? These are about $1.20 for 10. These have actually went up to about $4 for 10, all right? And you'll catch numerous fish on both of these baits. The huge tip that I was going to mention is with these tails on these two baits, all right, they need some resistance for their tails to do the action that they're meant to do. So with both of these baits, you want to cast these baits against the current. You want to throw it out and reel it back to you against the current. That is going to get the best action from this paddle tail on this White Ice Fluke, and then from this curly tail on this 3-inch grub. All right, you want the best action that the bait can give you, and I'm telling you, if you throw these baits against the current and bring them back to you, the action on these two baits are insane. Not only do you have to have the proper baits to catch these white bass, but you also need the proper setup. And this is my setup for catching white bass right here. I have my 6-foot ACC crappie sticks, and on here right now I have the 3-inch grub from Yum, but it's paired with a plain jig head, all right? Guys, I'm telling you, that pink jig head, I just didn't have any more at the time when this was rigged up. But a pink jig head, these white bass will go crazy over a pink jig head. 1/8 ounce, that is what I throw. But this rod right here, you want you something light action so you can get the feel the full fight from that white bass. This 6-foot ACC does me really well. I have it paired with a Shimano Sienna 500 reel, all right? And then I have 8. You can use 8 to 10 pound mono. Some people even use 6 pound monos, but those hybrids will also run with those sand bass, and you get a big old hybrid on there, it's gonna be really tough to pull it in with 6 pound tests. But this is the setup that I love for white bass fishing. When it comes to your baits, whether you're throwing a grub, the White Ice Fluke Junior, a rooster tail, a curly tail jig, I'm gonna give you a huge tip to catch these white bass. Reel in that bait back to you as slow as possible, but you still want that bait to have the action that it's supposed to have. Well, now that we've gone over the baits and the setup to catch these white bass, I'm going to show you where the best places you can find them, and this is going to be one of them right here. All right, you need to be looking for forks in the river. Now what I mean by a fork is a split, all right? One side of the river goes off that way, another one comes in from this way, okay? What usually happens is these white bass will sit in this pocket in the slack water in between the two currents. They will wait for bait fish to come by, or in our case, they're going to wait for your bait to come by, and they're going to absolutely slaughter it. They're going to sit in this slack water and they're going to wait for those bait fish. That is an awesome place to try to throw to catch these white bass. All right, be sure to look for forks in the river. All right, or like I said, it's another word for fork is just a split. Okay, one splits off this way, another one goes off this way. Right in the middle right here is going to be that slack water. Guys, you have heard me say this in numerous videos, and I'm going to say it again. White bass travel miles and miles and miles upriver, up creeks, okay? They're fighting current all the way up. So what they're gonna try to do is, at some point, they have to rest, okay? They have to rest, they have to get their strength back. So what they're gonna do is, they're gonna find slack water in these creeks and rivers, all right? Slack water. Now, what I mean by slack water is just water that's not moving as fast on the main channel of the river, okay? Of course, there's gonna be, usually there's gonna be one side of the river or creek is gonna have faster current than the other, okay? You're gonna wanna throw that bait into that slack water or into the fasting moving water and bring that bait into the slack water. A major tip on locating white bass, okay, is you want to find rivers and creeks that come off the northern and western side of your lakes. When fish typically spawn, they like to go north, all right? So those rivers and creeks that come off the northern and western side of the lakes, those are typically going to be the best productive. Now, we haven't had as much rain as we typically should have this time of the year, but a major tip, guys, get you either some hip waders or some actual full waders, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. These white bass are going to come in these rivers and creeks, and at some point in time there's going to be a major rain, all right? Especially in the spring, it's going to rain a lot, so everything is going to flood. These white bass will get into places that you wouldn't think that they normally would get into, especially if the water was low. So you're going to need waders, hip waders, something that will give you access to be able to cross some deeper water. I'm telling you, you're going to have access to a whole lot more fish just by investing in a pair of waders or hip waders. All right, another place to find white bass, guys. Y'all see this structure in the water right here. Once again, now this is also a split in the river, okay? A branch goes off there, and then a branch also comes off here, all right? So right here in this middle, that's going to be your slack water. Now also, another thing to look for is structure in the water that blocks current, okay? So the current's coming in from this way and also this way, okay? So on this side of this structure right here, this clump of trees, your water is not going to be running as fast as it is on the other side. So those white bass will more than likely not be sitting on this side of the structure. They're going to be sitting on this side right in here. This area right here will typically be a good spot. And I've also caught white bass here too, so that theory, it just proves my theory to be correct. All right, look for structure in the water that blocks current and fish on the side where the current is blocked. You're going to find white bass right there. Now, I had mentioned earlier that we haven't had the amount of rain that we normally have at this time of the year, but I'm going to use this as an example. All right, a good place to find white bass is where any inlet comes into the main river, okay? A lot of the times those bait fish, minnows, shad, etc., they will go in these little creeks to get warm, and then all of a sudden they'll all move out at one time. These white bass will sit here at the mouth of those little inlets and creeks, and they will wait for those bait fish to come out, and they will just bombard them. So look for little creeks and inlets that come into the main river, okay? This is the main river right here. This is just a small, there's usually more water in here. There's usually more flow, but this right here is a great place to look for white bass. it's an easy place to catch them because they are just sitting there waiting for these bait fish to come out of this small inlet or creek. Another thing that you need to look for is find somewhere where the creek or river widens. All right, usually when the river or creek widens out, there's more room for the water to go, so the current isn't as bad. So this right here, for an example, the river is pretty narrow right through here and those two inlets right there. Now right through here, the creek, the river really widens out, okay? And I mean really widens out. Now I know for a fact we don't have much water, but this side of the river typically runs pretty swift closest to me, okay? On the far bank, for whatever reason, that current isn't usually as strong. I like to throw my bait up against that bank, run it into the slow moving water, into the faster water. Typically I get all my bites on that half of the river over there. All right, find a spot in the river or creek that widens. Your current will not be as fast, and this is a good place where these white bass like to take a rest from moving up that current. One of my favorite places to fish for white bass in the creeks and rivers is in a bend, okay? This right here is a really sharp bend, guys. The river goes, let me adjust this camera. The river goes this way, and it is a sharp bend, and I mean really sharp, okay? I love fishing these bends. Typically on the outside of the bend, you're gonna have your slower moving water, all right? This is gonna be the inside of the bend, okay? This is going to be the outside. Your slower moving water will be on the outside of the bend, all right? And those bait fish, they like to get out of the current as well, so they're going to be in this slack water. If you find the bait, you find the fish, all right? So be sure that you fish these bends, okay? That is one of my favorite things to fish for white bass. I can typically find a bend in the river or creek and there's white bass there. So anytime I see a bend, I'm gonna fish it. Let me show y'all a perfect setup on where to find white bass. And I'm gonna show you this setup right here, all right? This right here is one of my favorite spots. This is well known. A lot of people know this spot. So you have your main river channel here. So you got water flowing from left to right. Then you have an inlet that comes in this way, also flowing to the right. Now, this pocket right here is going to be still water, slack water, okay? The bait fish are going to huddle up in this spot because everything is flowing to the right. Everything comes in this way and goes to the right, and then everything comes in from this way and flows to the right. So this pocket is still, it's almost basically non-moving, okay? So what I like to do is I like to stand on these points here, okay, these points, and I like to throw to that bank over there and bring my jig or my bait, anything that you're throwing, bring your bait slowly back to you. You're also going to run into the current right here. Those white bass like to sit right on the edge of that current and eat those bait fish as they come by. So this right here is a perfect, I mean a perfect scenario for white bass fishing. Flowing here to the right, this inlet's flowing in and going to the right, then you have your still water there. Perfect spot to find white bass right there. Well guys, that's about to wrap up this video. The three main things that I want you to gather from this video on where to find the white bass are bends. Be sure you're fishing those bends and creeks in the rivers. Make sure you're finding that slack water or still moving water off of the main current. All right, find that still water, you're gonna find the white bass. And also be sure you're looking for those splits in the rivers and creeks, or as I like to call them, a fork. Typically right in the middle, you find your slack water, your bait fish, therefore you're gonna find your white bass. I appreciate y'all for watching this video. I really hope you learned something from it. If you did learn something from this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and go ahead and shoot me a comment in the comment section and tell me what you learned. All right, I hope these tips and tricks to find white bass and the baits that I use to catch them, I hope they catch you a whole lot of white bass this year. The white bass run of 2022 should be starting up any day now. I've even heard of a few rumors that some white bass are already in the creeks, so I'm definitely gonna have to go try them out very soon. I greatly appreciate the support, liking my videos, commenting on my videos. Man, it is awesome, guys. We're really growing. I thank you so much. If you're already subscribed to the 903 Fishing channel, thank you so much. God bless you. You know I would not be doing this without you guys. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Come join the 903 Fishing family. I would greatly appreciate it. Like always, like, comment, and subscribe to 903 Fishing. Y'all have a great day. God bless.